The Galactic Survey Command operated a massive holographic map that stretched across the chamber, glowing softly in green light. Every green dot on that map represented a world that was safe for life: calm atmospheres, balanced ecosystems, and civilizations that could be trusted to join the Council peacefully. The map had glowed green for centuries, marking the galaxy as a place of harmony and stability. Technicians worked in silence, their screens showing data from thousands of systems. It had become routine, every new planet scanned, every risk assessed. Nothing surprising ever appeared. The galaxy had been fully charted for generations. Or so they thought. Then one day a small blip appeared near the edge of the screen. A system no one recognized. The technicians leaned closer, unsure. The computer automatically began its scan. Within moments the image sharpened, and there it was, a small blue planet wrapped in white clouds. Its name appeared on the screen: Earth. At first no one paid much attention. Dozens of planets were discovered every cycle. But something about this one caught their eye. The readings didn't fit the normal pattern. The atmosphere was dense but breathable. Radiation levels fluctuated but remained within tolerance. The surface had liquid water, oceans covering more than half the planet. Everything seemed perfect. A junior officer laughed as he looked at the readings. "Finally, a real paradise world," he said, turning to his supervisor. "I bet the Council will love this one." The supervisor, David Mercer, didn't laugh. He had seen strange readings before, but these numbers were odd. Too perfect in some places, unstable in others. The sensors kept adjusting, as if the planet itself were changing slightly each time the scan ran. "Run it again," David said quietly. The technician frowned. "We already have, sir. It keeps giving different results." David crossed his arms. "Different how?" "Well," the technician replied, pointing at the readouts, "one moment the radiation levels are normal. Then they spike. Then they drop again. It's like something doesn't want to be measured." Across the room, Emma Clark, the communications officer, turned her chair toward them. "Maybe it's just interference," she said. "That sector's full of magnetic storms. The scanners always glitch there." David didn't answer. He had a strange feeling about the planet. He'd seen interference before. This wasn't it. Something about the data felt alive, like it was reacting to being observed. Then the command doors opened and Jonathan Hale, the senior observer, walked in. His presence brought a quiet hush to the room. Jonathan was known for his calm reasoning and rare ability to sense when something wasn't right. He moved to the holographic display, eyes narrowing as he looked at the small blue dot. "What's this?" he asked. "New discovery, sir," David said. "Designation Earth. Sensors classify it as Class M, fully habitable." Jonathan nodded slowly. "Then why do you all look worried?" Emma glanced at David before answering. "Because the readings keep changing. It's not stable. But every time we recheck, it adjusts to normal again." Jonathan watched the flickering glow of the planet. It shifted slightly as if pulsing. "Show me the scan history," he said. Data filled the air, lines of numbers and color-coded charts. The pattern was clear now. The readings changed only when the sensors focused too long on one spot. The planet seemed to know it was being watched. "That's not interference," Jonathan said softly. "That's something else." No one spoke for a while. The hum of the machines filled the silence. Finally, a young technician broke the quiet. "Should we report it as safe, sir?" Jonathan looked at him, then at the glowing blue dot again. "Not yet," he said. "Mark it for extended observation. We'll monitor it for another cycle." The technician hesitated. "But if it's habitable, the Council will want to open it immediately." Jonathan gave a faint smile. "Then the Council can wait. I want to understand what we're looking at first." The technician nodded, though uneasily, and updated the system. The word pending replaced safe next to Earth's name. The map glowed green all around it, but Earth stayed a neutral white, neither safe nor dangerous. Just unknown. Over the next few days, new readings came in. Strange energy bursts were detected around the planet's poles. The temperature maps showed rapid climate shifts that made no sense. Ocean currents moved in unpredictable ways and signals, faint but structured, echoed from the surface. Emma brought the data to Jonathan's desk. "We're picking up transmissions," she said quietly. "Language patterns. Thousands of them." Jonathan studied the screen. "Thousands?" "Yes. Different frequencies, different alphabets. They're all coming from the surface." David walked in just in time to hear that. "That means there's life down there," he said. "Intelligent life." "Apparently," Emma said. But none of it matches any of our known civilizations. It's all local. They're still planet-bound. Jonathan leaned back thinking. So it's inhabited and advanced enough to broadcast. Emma hesitated. Do we contact them? He shook his head. No, not yet. If they're capable of sending this much data, they'll notice us soon enough. David looked at the map again. The white glow around Earth flickered once more, then steadied into green. There, the technician said, smiling. See? It's safe after all. But Jonathan didn't smile. He stared at the screen, at the single blue planet glowing quietly among thousands of stars. Maybe, he said softly. Or maybe it's waiting for us to believe that. No one replied. The map hummed gently, filling the command room with a green light that felt strangely cold. And as the technicians logged the discovery and shut down for the night, no one noticed that the green glow around Earth flickered one last time, a faint pulse like a heartbeat, before returning to stillness. Something somewhere had noticed them too. The fleet glided silently above the planet, their ships casting faint shadows over the curve of the atmosphere. From orbit, Earth looked calm, blue and bright, like a world untouched by war. Commander Reth watched through the viewport, his expression full of pride. To him, this was just another survey mission, another primitive planet to classify. Look at it, Reth said, tapping the glass. Beautiful but fragile. A world still clinging to nature. They'll be grateful when we bring them into the council. His second officer, Kira, hesitated. The record said this planet was restricted, sir. Reth laughed. Old legends. Superstition from weaker times. The council warns about everything these days. Trust me, this will be simple. We'll scan, report, and move on. He turned to his crew. Begin surface sweeps. Across orbit, drones detached from the fleet and spread through the skies. They scanned mountains, oceans, and cities. At first, the readings were perfect. Oxygen-rich air, thriving ecosystems, billions of life forms moving across the land. It was almost too perfect. Stable population, high energy output, the sensor officer reported. Artificial satellites in low orbit, several thousand. Technological level, mid to high development. They use combustion engines, nuclear power, and digital communications. Reth nodded. Primitive but advancing. Exactly what we expected. Then the first anomaly appeared. A red warning flashed across the sensor board. Commander, said Kira, frowning, we're detecting strange energy bursts from their southern continent. It's like their machines are reading us back. Reth frowned. Impossible. No primitive world could detect our scans. But the readings didn't lie. The energy pulses increased in frequency, locking onto the fleet's coordinates. One by one, drones began to lose contact. At the Galactic monitoring station far away, Emma Clark sat at her console, watching the data feed from Earth. Everything had been running smoothly until now. Her screen flickered. The live map glitched, data streams jumping between normal and unreadable. She tried resetting the connection, but the signal grew more chaotic. It looked like interference, but too rhythmic, too deliberate. Jonathan, she called across the room, something's wrong with the fleet's telemetry. Jonathan Hale walked over, calm but alert. What kind of wrong? Emma pointed to the screen. They're being jammed. But I've never seen a pattern like this before, it's synchronized. David Mercer joined them, his voice low. Are the humans doing that? Emma stared at him. You mean the ones on the planet? He nodded. She hesitated. It's possible. But this level of control shouldn't exist down there. Back aboard the Valen flagship, the situation grew worse. Reth barked orders as the bridge lights dimmed. What's happening? Commander, our navigation is unresponsive. External sensors are offline. Who's attacking us? No ships detected, sir. It's coming from the planet itself. Reth turned sharply toward the viewport. Earth spun silently below them, the continents glowing faintly in the night. Yet something about that glow was wrong. It flickered, like pulses of light moving in patterns, almost as if the entire planet was sending signals. Kira's voice trembled. Sir, the signal's embedding itself in our systems. It's rewriting our operating code. Reth slammed his fist on the console. Shut it down. Cut all external links. It's too late, sir. The core is responding on its own. On Emma's screen, the data stabilized for a moment, just long enough for her to read a single line of text transmitted from the flagship. It wasn't in human or alien code, it was something new. She enlarged it, heart pounding. Jonathan, look at this. The message was simple. You are being observed. David's eyes widened. That came from the humans? Emma shook her head slowly. No. It came from their planet. Jonathan leaned closer to the display. His face was unreadable. They warned us not to touch Earth, he said quietly. Now we're learning why. Back on the Valen flagship, panic filled the command deck. Systems flickered. Artificial gravity shifted, throwing officers from their stations. The communications board sparked violently. Every monitor showed the same thing, a spinning map of Earth flashing red. Kira shouted, "We've lost all control. It's overriding every system." Reth struggled to regain composure. "Activate emergency retreat. Now." But the engines didn't respond. Instead, the fleet's own computers began transmitting data, coordinates, crew information, ship schematics, sending everything back to Earth. The entire invasion force was being read like an open book. Within minutes, the flagship's lights dimmed completely. For a long moment, everything went silent. Then, without warning, the navigation systems rebooted. The view outside the window shifted. The planet no longer looked calm and peaceful. Storm systems covered the surface in swirling patterns, lightning flashing across continents. It looked alive, angry, aware. Reth whispered, "What is this place?" No one answered. At the Galactic Monitoring Station, Emma stared in disbelief. The fleet's signal vanished from the map. The green glow representing Earth flickered twice, then turned red. David exhaled slowly. "That's not possible. A planet can't do that." Jonathan looked at the red light pulsing on the display. "It can," he said quietly, "if it's not just a planet." Emma swallowed hard. "What should we tell the council?" Jonathan didn't look away from the screen. "Tell them the truth," he said. The map was green. Then it turned red. And that was the last anyone heard from the fleet. Outside, in the vastness of space, the small blue planet continued to turn beneath its clouds, calm and bright once more, its secrets hidden, its silence waiting. The great chamber of the Galactic Council was silent. Dozens of species sat in their floating seats, their eyes fixed on the enormous projection at the center of the room. The galactic map stretched across the air, every known system marked in glowing green, symbolizing peace and safety. But one planet had changed. It pulsed in orange light, faint but steady. The color meant unclassified danger. No one had ever seen it happen before. "Impossible," murmured Admiral Thalen, his voice echoing through the chamber. "A planet's status cannot change by itself. The readings are supposed to be static." Yet the evidence was right before them. The map flickered again, orange light spreading like ripples through the nearby systems. A low hum filled the chamber, an eerie sound that wasn't part of the projection. It came from the data feeds themselves. Emma Clark sat at her console below the chamber, reviewing the transmission. Her hands trembled slightly as she worked. The signal wasn't random interference, it was structured, layered like speech. She replayed the message again and again, her brow furrowed. "It's not coming from a single transmitter," she said softly. "The signal is repeating from multiple sources, deep under the planet's crust, across the oceans, through the upper atmosphere." Jonathan Hale, who stood behind her, leaned forward. "So it's coordinated?" Emma nodded. "More than that. It's unified." David Mercer joined them, his tone uneasy. "Are you saying the entire planet is talking?" Emma looked up from her screen. "Not talking," she said. "Communicating." The council chamber buzzed with voices now. Some argued that the signal was a defense mechanism, others believed it was a trap, or perhaps a system malfunction. But deep down none of them believed that. The silence in their eyes betrayed fear. One of the older counselors, a scholar from the Aurelian worlds, rose slowly. "I remember," he said, his voice low. "Old records from before the Dark Cycle. There was once a warning. They said a world existed that could think. That its creatures shaped it, not just with machines but with their minds." Reth's image flickered on the display, a recorded transmission from before the fleet vanished. His face was tense, his voice urgent. Control lost, navigation corrupted. Systems responding to planetary command. The message broke into static, then silence. Emma replayed the words again, this time isolating the background signal. What she heard made her chest tighten. It wasn't noise, it was a pattern like breathing. Jonathan frowned. "That sound, it's rhythmic." "Yes," Emma whispered. "It's like a heartbeat." The map in the chamber pulsed again. Earth's orange glow brightened, then dimmed, in sync with the same rhythm. It was alive. "Stop the feed," shouted one of the admirals. "We don't know what it's doing to our systems." Technicians rushed to disconnect the relay, but the signal had already spread through their network. The lights in the chamber flickered. For a brief second, the entire projection changed. Every world, every star, every green glow disappeared. Only one word appeared in the center of the void. Earth. Then the map restored itself, green lights blinking back into place. The council members looked around in stunned silence. David broke it softly. Did the map just edit itself? Emma stared at her console, her voice shaking. No external input. The system rewrote its own data feed. Jonathan folded his arms. So Earth isn't just reacting. It's aware of being watched. For a long time no one spoke. Even the council's leader, High Chancellor Arion, seemed unsure. He looked down from his seat, his voice low. If this planet can rewrite our systems from across the stars, what else can it do? No one answered. Emma looked back at her screen. More fragments of data streamed in, bits of transmission from the lost fleet. She pieced them together, forming a clearer picture. Each message came from a different location. Orbit, the surface, underwater, even beneath the crust. The same phrase repeated in all of them, translated from the strange signal. You were warned. David exhaled slowly. So it knows what we did. Jonathan turned toward the Chancellor. We have to lock down all access to that system. No one else should go near it. But Arion hesitated. You think it will stop with us obeying a warning? Emma shook her head. No. I think it's already watching everything we do. Outside the council chambers, the galactic map continued to glow in the observatory's main hall. Hundreds of young officers watched the orange light flicker across Earth's icon. A few laughed nervously, saying it was just a glitch. But as they turned to leave, one of the stars on the map flickered red for an instant, then turned green again. Emma noticed it later, reviewing the data logs. The change wasn't random. It was deliberate. A test. That night, she sat in her office staring at the holographic display of Earth. She zoomed in on the blue planet until the clouds filled her vision. Why are you doing this? She whispered. The screen glitched once. A faint voice came through, soft and human. Because you touched us. Emma froze. The lights flickered, then steadied again. The message was gone. But the heartbeat, the rhythm pulsing deep in the data feed, remained. Slow, steady, patient. And across the galaxy, every system linked to the Council's network registered a faint signal from the same origin point. Earth. The green lights of safety began to flicker one by one, dimming ever so slightly as if something unseen was watching and waiting. The recovery ships moved slowly through the silence of space. Fragments of metal floated beyond the moon, scattered like ash after a fire. These were the remains of the Valen exploration fleet, the ones who had ignored the warnings and gone to Earth. The Galactic Council watched as drones collected the wreckage piece by piece. Most of it was useless, twisted hulls, melted circuits, shattered data cores. But from one drifting escape pod they found something intact, a black recorder. Emma Clark stood beside Jonathan Hale and David Mercer as the engineers worked to extract the data. The device crackled and buzzed with old transmissions, the voices of frightened pilots and officers. Most of it was just static. But then a voice came through, broken, trembling, but clear enough to understand. There's something beneath the surface, structures older than anything we've seen. The recording ended with static, but then another voice replaced it, sharper, rushed. Energy everywhere, adaptive signals, like it's learning. Silence followed. Emma leaned forward. Play that last part again. The technician rewound the transmission. The second voice repeated its final words, but this time the static at the end carried something else. A faint echo beneath the noise, a rhythmic pulse. Jonathan frowned. That sound again. David nodded slowly. The heartbeat. The technician looked pale. That shouldn't be there. The recorder doesn't produce low-frequency sound like that. It's not a system error. The hum grew louder in the speakers, then stopped as suddenly as it began. For a moment the entire room felt colder. What could it mean? Emma asked quietly. Jonathan folded his arms. It means whatever they found under the surface wasn't just old. It was alive. The Council requested every recovered fragment be sent to their central research station. Dozens of scientists from different worlds began to analyze what remained of the fleet. They found traces of unusual energy patterns, pulses that changed frequency as they were studied, as if responding to observation. Reports began to come in from across the network. The Council's communication relays were experiencing small disruptions, tiny flickers that lasted less than a second. At first, no one thought much of it. But when one technician zoomed in on the interference pattern, he froze. The code forming the flicker wasn't random. It spelled one word. Watching. Emma's blood ran cold when she saw it. It's the same signal, she whispered. The same one from Earth. Jonathan stared at the data. You're saying it followed us here? David clenched his jaw. No. It didn't follow us. It reached us. As the investigation continued, more fragments were recovered. From one shattered console, they found a partial video feed, fuzzy and distorted, but still showing enough to make everyone in the viewing room go silent. It showed the inside of a Valen command ship. Officers ran back and forth, alarms flashing red. Through the main window, Earth filled the sky below them. But the clouds were moving strangely, spiraling in perfect circles, forming patterns no natural storm could make. Then one of the officers pointed. The camera turned toward the surface. In the middle of the ocean, light glowed through the water, bright and constant, spreading outward like veins of fire. The light didn't fade, it expanded, growing wider until the entire screen filled with white. The recording ended. When it was over, no one spoke for a long time. Emma finally broke the silence. They said there were structures under the surface. What if those aren't ruins? What if that's part of the planet itself? Jonathan turned toward the window where Earth hung in the distance, small, blue, and quiet. You're suggesting the planet is more than alive, it's aware. David added, and maybe whatever's under the surface isn't asleep anymore. The council's debates went on for days. Some demanded isolation of the Sol system. Others wanted to destroy any remaining fragments to prevent contamination. But the scientists warned it was too late. The data itself carried traces of the same adaptive code. Every time someone analyzed it, the patterns changed. One scientist compared the digital signals side by side and noticed something alarming. The energy signature from Earth was synchronizing with the main galactic network. The pulses were getting faster, matching the rhythm of transmissions across thousands of light years. Emma realized what was happening. It's learning how to talk to us, she said softly. Jonathan turned to her. Through our systems? She nodded. Through everything we connected to it. That night, Emma stayed alone in the monitoring room, unable to sleep. The stars outside seemed peaceful, distant, and silent, but the hum of the computers filled the air with an almost human rhythm. Then the speakers clicked on by themselves. Static filled the room. Slowly, a whisper emerged from the noise. You shouldn't have come. Emma froze, her hands trembling. The voice was faint, calm, and unmistakably human. But it wasn't any of the missing crew. It was something else, something older. The screen flickered. Earth's image appeared again, magnified until it filled her entire display. The oceans glowed faintly, and for just a moment she saw shapes moving beneath the surface, geometric, organized, almost mechanical. Then the lights went out. When they came back on, the screen showed the galactic map again. Earth's marker was no longer orange. It glowed red. Emma stood there in silence, her heart pounding in rhythm with the same pulse echoing from the speakers. Somewhere deep in the galaxy, another relay blinked red. Then another. Whatever was beneath Earth's surface was no longer waiting. It was spreading. Months passed in uneasy silence. The Galactic Council stopped all expeditions near the Sol system. No more ships were sent. No more messages were transmitted. Earth remained untouched, wrapped in its quiet blue glow beneath the cold emptiness of space. But on the grand galactic map, one thing never changed, the red glow. It pulsed faintly like a heartbeat, steady and patient. Every few seconds, it flickered, and the systems monitoring it dimmed slightly, as if something vast and unseen was breathing through the network. Technicians tried to remove it. They wiped the data, reset the systems, and rebuilt the entire map database from scratch. But every time they turned it back on, Earth reappeared, red, alive, watching. One night, a young analyst named Thomas stayed late in the control center. He didn't believe the rumors that the planet was aware. He thought it was just a data glitch, some anomaly buried deep in the network. He typed in commands to isolate Earth's signal and cut it from the galactic grid. The moment he hit confirm, every console in the room went black. The lights flickered and the hum of the machines stopped completely. For a few seconds there was only silence. Then one by one the systems came back online, displaying a single message across every screen. Do not forget. Thomas left his post without saying a word. The next day the council declared that all observation of Earth was to cease immediately. The red marker stayed untouched. Jonathan Hale stood in the council chamber days later, staring at the giant map that filled the room. Emma Clark and David Mercer stood beside him. Every world in the galaxy glowed green, safe, stable, alive. Except one. Earth pulsed red in the darkness, its heartbeat echoing softly through the display systems. The air in the chamber was still. Even the council members who once laughed at the old myths said nothing now. Emma folded her arms. "They'll stay away now," she said quietly, her voice echoing against the high walls. Jonathan nodded slowly, eyes still on the map. "For a while." David frowned. "You think they'll try again?" Jonathan didn't answer right away. He watched the faint red pulse on the map, steady and calm as though the planet itself was listening. "Curiosity always returns," he said at last. "Someone will forget. They always do." Outside the chamber's vast windows, the stars stretched endlessly in every direction. Somewhere far away, signals flowed between worlds carrying trade, news and science. But beneath that invisible web, there was always a faint hum, a quiet rhythm too steady to be random. Some scientists claimed it was residual interference left over from the destroyed fleet. Others swore they could detect a pattern, a pulse that moved between communication relays at precise intervals. Every attempt to trace it led back to one source: Earth. Emma spent her nights reviewing the old data. The fleet logs, the black box recordings, the strange whispers buried in static, all told the same story. The planet had responded. It had learned. She turned to Jonathan one evening and said, "It's almost like the planet isn't dangerous because of humans, it's dangerous because of what's beneath them." Jonathan looked out at the stars and replied, "Or maybe that's what made humans what they are." The council eventually stopped discussing Earth altogether. The red marker remained permanently on the galactic map, glowing like an ember that refused to die out. It became a silent warning taught to new navigators and explorers: avoid the red world. Do not enter soul space. Generations passed and the story turned into legend. Pilots whispered about it in spaceports, how a fleet once vanished near a blue planet, how signals were heard in languages older than any known race. Some said the planet itself had spoken. Yet no one ever dared to confirm it. No one went back. One night, Emma returned alone to the council chamber. The great map still shone softly in the dark. She stood before it, watching the red pulse beat steadily. The sound of her own breath was the only thing she could hear. "It's still there," she whispered. "After all this time." Behind her, Jonathan entered quietly. "It will always be there," he said. "Some things aren't meant to be forgotten." Emma smiled faintly. "You think it remembers us?" Jonathan looked at the red light and replied, "I think it remembers everything." For a long time, they stood in silence, watching the faint heartbeat of Earth echo through the galaxy's most powerful map. Then, as the lights in the chamber dimmed, the map flickered once. Just for a second. The red glow brightened, stronger than before, then faded back to normal. Emma's eyes widened. "Did you see that?" Jonathan nodded. "It's awake." The map returned to stillness, every world glowing peacefully once again. But the pulse from Earth continued, slow and steady, an eternal reminder of what had happened, and what still waited beneath its blue oceans and white clouds. No one touched the systems again. The council sealed the records and the warning spread quietly across the galaxy. Never disturb the red world. Never touch Earth. The stars moved on and the universe grew older, but in the darkness the planet watched and waited.